All right, so we're here today with Rudy J. Ferretti, which everybody knows is the bad boy of competitive gaming. So we have a couple questions for him, just get an update in the world of Rudy. So first and foremost, let's talk about Twin Galaxies.
Okay.
A lot of people know that you were recently banned from the forums. From your point of view, what exactly happened there?
Well, I signed up when they were, when you were able to actually get in. I think I tried several times. I couldn't get into the database at all because when I would try to find a password or something, it wasn't there, and I would click on something, it would tell me my account's deactivated, contact the administrator. So what I had to do was, I would have to pretend like I already had an account, press forgot password, and it would send me a whole new thing, and I would be able to go inside. And once I got in there, things started to unfold right off the bat.
What do you mean they started to unfold?
Well, I would be speaking on stuff that, I felt wasn't right and needed to be fixed. Like, bad scores, the sandbagging I went through and things like that. And right off the bat, these two trolls decided to just follow me around the whole entire time and would combat on, and counterattack everything I would say on the forums. And with that happening, my posts would get deleted, but their posts would stay. And then I got a warning that, any more nonsense and I'm gone. So all my posts get deleted. They're allowed to bash me and put me down. And next thing I know, in like 72 hours, I was deleted. Without any notice.
No notice at all.
No goodbye, no like ban status or whatever. And then one of the administrators, I won't, repeat his name, but people probably know who I'm talking about. As usual, the Mr. No Call, No Show. He decided to say, oh, well, we don't know how long the ban will be yet. Sure, he says it on the public forum. That's really professional. He says it to people, but he can't say it to the person that he or she banned? Come on now.
Do you know of anybody else that's been banned?
I don't.
So you're possibly been singled out?
I've possibly been the only person that's been banned from the forums yet. I mean, maybe there's been people that, like, there are nobodies that might have been banned for saying stuff, or people that make fake accounts, but
Nobody of your caliber?
Nobody that I know of my caliber has been banned to this date from their site.
All right, what about the database? Continues to have problems?
That database has had problems since I started back in 2003. I mean, we already knew that there was already scores in the database that were fraudulent and impossible to do, like I was telling you. And when I looked into it further, and I talked to other gamers, so I brought it to Twin Galaxies' attention and the referees and the administrators. Not only was nothing addressed, but nothing has still gotten done to this day. And even worse than that, when you go into the database, you look at people's fastest completion times, and they're all zeros or scrambled like high scores, which is not supposed to be. If you beat a game fast, it should show a time like digits, 43 minutes and 26 seconds or something. There's nothing like that there, including on mine. So now that's holding up people from doing historical websites for themselves, looking up their scores properly, and there's no actual search. You go there and there's like a scramble of like a big Tetris block of scores that make no sense, and like one score is here, and they're all mixed up. And there's even scores that I have on there that are not even my scores. They're like duplicated. They're not scores that I did, and numbers that make no sense. All my fastest completion times, I have no idea what they are now. And even worse than that, there's no actual search where you can go and search somebody's entire database, so you can see like all the games for each platform. You have to type them in individually.
So you can't search by the actual player?
You cannot search by the actual player except going to their name on the Twin Galaxies page, but like I said, it's all scrambled and it's not really a search because even if you click on the game, it's not like you get the proper settings or anything like that.
Why do you think this continues to be a problem for them?
I honestly think that they don't care about the scores or anything else other than making money. I mean, it's very clear that it's all they've been banking on is Donkey Kong. It's all it's ever been. And they don't care about, like I told you before, they told me they don't care about the old gamers. They don't care about people that can't pay. They only care about people that will pay and screw everybody else, basically, in a nutshell. And that's the biggest issue of all.
Okay, so you mentioned Donkey Kong just now. Are you planning to go to the Kong-Off?
Absolutely not, unless it's comped.
Unless it's comped?
Mm-hmm. Not to sound rude, but that's exactly how I feel from now on with these events. I've been around for so long, I've made Twin Galaxies all kind of money and fame. Not just me, but other gamers have as well, because everything we do, the cards, the names, the press releases, everything. They've gotten kickbacks on everything we've ever done. Why shouldn't I get, comped? Yeah, I'm not going to go for free.
Why do you think Donkey Kong continues to be their golden child in terms of gaming?
It's unbelievable. I mean, after the King of Kong, I just cannot believe the hype that's surrounded by Donkey Kong, and it's not like it's making millions of dollars either. I mean, they're using the same thing over and over again. I think because they have no other idea. They don't understand that everything can make it. And the thing I want to point out on that, I want you to understand something. I've been wanting to touch base on this. When they were talking about, well, where's the money going to come from? If they could promote Donkey Kong and they can promote modern gaming, why can't you just add classics to what's already making the big money? Where's the hurt in that? Where's the harm in that? So it's not about, even we can say right now, maybe there's no money in classics. Let's just say that. We know that's not true, but let's say that, right? Why can't they just do a conjunction of it? They're making millions of dollars already with MLGs and everything else and all these other professional leagues. Just put the classics in there and see what happens. There's no harm in that. It's not going to bring down revenue. If anything, it's going to increase it. You're doing a conjunction of two different types of eras and entities of gaming. I don't see the problem with that.
All right, what about the articles on Twin Galaxies websites? They seem to have the same caliber of writing as they had previously under the different incarnations of Twin Galaxies. Do you see them continuing to be of the same amateurish feel to them?
Number one, just like always, now you've got a person that is supposedly this big writer and journalist, but he or she only writes about whatever they want to write about and who they want to write about again. And also, they don't even take orders. I mean, the owner of the company has told me on several occasions, that, oh, well, we can't force this person to do anything. Well, if this person's getting paid and told they're going to do something, they need to do it. I keep seeing articles, that don't make sense. They're kind of, they look, like I said before, fabricated, and I want to touch a base on that. When I say fabricated, everything's fabricated because you're making something, but like they're not real. Like there's something missing in them, or attention articles just to get somebody's attention. Stuff you know nothing about. You know nothing about hacking or nothing about video gaming, let alone modern video gaming. You're writing an article about it. Trying to get people to get your attention. It's not going to work. You're writing about games you know nothing about. And you're also in the scene when you don't even belong there. You're not a gamer. So that's been the problem with a lot of these writers. They're not true gamers, and they're writing articles about these people that they know nothing about the games or about the history.
So it's a total lack of experience then?
Total lack of experience. These people are so green. It's naive and funny, and nothing can be straighter than the truth with that. I mean, it's just so true. If you know these people, like I do, you see that they're not game players, a lot of them. Or they play one game and that's it. They put down everything else.
All right, what about the card event? Tell us about that. What do you know about it? Are you going? What are your thoughts?
Walter's organizing that event. It's funny. We talked about this before. I mean, the guy's supposed to be retiring. And, there's been a lot of bad done on his part over the years, too. What I don't like about this whole card event is number one, if you're a world-renowned gamer, you're supposed to get a specific award. But I'm seeing everybody's going to be getting the same exact award, the same exact type of treatment at the red carpet event. A couple of years ago, it was only several people getting the specific treatment for awards and everything else. So now they want to open it up to everybody, but everybody's going to get the same award. So somebody that's 1,000th place on Counter-Strike that has no experience in all-around gaming and is a nobody to the scene, and let alone classics especially, you're telling me that that's fair? That she's going to get the same exact world-renowned contribution award that I'm going to get for all the scores and all the work I've put into gaming, including other people as well? I've got a major problem with that, and I've voiced my opinion many times.
Does this diminish the whole point of having the cards to begin with?
That's the thing, it brings down, what kind of morale and demeanor do you have at that point? It's just like when you're working in a department. If the awards are not, it's okay for an award to be equal. Everybody can get an award for things that they've done, but what I'm saying is the morale and demeanor comes down of what you've done, the level of achievement gets brought down. Your heart and soul and everything you've put into the games and stuff get brought down when you see somebody getting the same exact award that you're getting.
What about competitive gaming? What are you working on now? Anything, or you've been very quiet as to what you've been working on?
Well, there really hasn't been much going on. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I've been just playing for fun. Don't see, with everything the way things are going, not seeing a big future, as I've said before. I've just been trying to kick back and just enjoy myself more than really put a lot of effort into records and stuff like that. And I've been enjoying myself. I've been going on the emulators and just trying out different games, and it gives me the option to do, some shopping for games for the future. as you know, I did that zero score on Cliffhanger not too long ago, and then of course the elevator action.
Well, going back to Cliffhanger, since you mentioned it, some people have dismissed it, that accomplishment was no big deal. You have clearly a very different opinion about it.
Nobody had ever done a zero score on any game ever in history for any platform or arcade, except for, the, I'm trying to remain professional, the touch yourself masturbation technique for Pac-Man per se. The guy takes his joystick and he goes back and forth dodging the dots to get a zero on the first stage. That's the closest that anybody's ever seen to zero. So somebody told me, hey, why don't you do it for the sake of history? I said, okay, I've got just the game. So I started looking through my collection. I really didn't have a game at the time. And I was like, I'm going to find something. So I found Cliffhanger. And I needed to figure out something where it would be fair, where I'd have a total setup of something where I would have to complete the game, but I would have to end up with a zero score. So I needed to make my own rules, but at the same time I wanted to make it so it would work. I didn't want to, get to the point where I would make it easy. So what I did was I figured out how I could grab all the items and then go on to beat the game with one life remaining after I left a certain section of the only way it could be calculated to get a zero, which I did, which was in stage 3. And what people don't understand, they just think I'm going back and forth in this level. They don't understand that there's a whole secret behind it, and getting certain items a certain way. If you get too many of the same item, the points will increase or decrease. I'm not going to share the secret of what it is, because since it's so easy, somebody should be able to just pick up the card like I did and duplicate it. There's so much involved. And then, of course, going through the game, after all that work to get through it without dying or hitting the fireplaces and then going and burning all the money and ending up with a zero and being the game. So that's how I look at it, and that's how I'm trying to explain this to everybody. Nobody gets it. They just think I'm going back and forth, grabbing something and killing myself off over and over again. But there's actually a lot of mess-ups in that game that there's only one way it can be done perfectly. There is no other way.
Are there some people that do get it, that do understand it?
I think there was like 1 or 2 people I spoke to that understand it. Of course, my friends understand it. My supporters, they get it.
But by and large, a lot of people, they just don't.
Nobody understands the concept of why it would matter. They don't understand that obviously getting a low score is defensive. It's more defensive than offensive. You're not going for, points. You're avoiding the points, which is just as difficult as not harder, if not harder.
Why do you think they have such a hard time digesting that? Is it just difficult for them to understand because they're not a competitive gamer? Or?
I think it's a little bit of all. There's 3 things. There's jealousy, lack of knowledge, and also the lack of caring, obviously. They don't understand, everything. They want everything to be the same. They think everybody wants the same thing over and over again, and that's just ludicrous. Why would everybody want the same thing over and over again? Oh, I got a high score on Donkey Kong. You know what? Try getting a low score on Donkey Kong. Try getting through Donkey Kong to the kill screen, avoiding points. And people don't understand how hard that is. Avoiding. Now you have to avoid the barrels. You can't jump over them. You have to avoid them. You have to avoid points. You need to get to the top as fast as possible. You do a competitive tournament like that with any game, you're changing the whole game around, and they don't understand that. You're making the game brand new by making these new settings and new challenges. But they just think that the media wants to see one thing over and over again. And I can tell you for personally, I see people that love Donkey Kong, they're tired of seeing the same thing over and over and over again.
All right, so Rob McCollum, for those of us who may not be familiar with him, he's doing a documentary. He recently did a Kickstarter for it. Looks like he met his funding goal for this movie. It is our understanding he had some participation, at least in some of the promo stuff that he's done. Care to share with us what's gone on thus far?
Yeah, I actually I saw him online, and I saw he was located here, in Nevada. So I was like, oh, great. I'm an NES player. He's doing an NES, club movie. I was like, let me reach out to this guy. I reached out to him. He didn't know who I was, and I sent him a nice calm little paragraph of an email. I'll tell you exactly what I said. I was like, hey, I'm from Vegas. My name's Rudy. I'm one of the biggest NES champions around, especially here in Nevada. I said, get in touch with me. I'd be honored to be in your film. And he contacted me, and we met up for breakfast, and went from there.
Can you tell us about the movie? Like what your understanding of it will be?
Yeah. If he would know more about it than I do, but as far as I know, the movie is based on a 30-day treasure hunt, basically, to obtain every single NES game, whether it be licensed or not. And he has to do it without any, online purchases. He can go online to search, but they have to actually go to the physical person's house or business to get the games, which is really cool, I think. And it's just basically like a scavenger hunt to find all 700 or whatever it is, 900 and something titles, I'm not sure how many. And they go on a road trip throughout the United States to mom and pop shops and things like that. It's very interesting. And the thing I wanted to mention about that, people think that, the Kickstarter was for the games, and that's not the case. It was, people are working. They have to get paid for what they're doing, going around doing the travel and everything else. They had the money for the games already.
So the funding was more for the actual production.
Exactly.
Do you think the real story there is the actual NES games themselves, or do you think it's more about the collectors or just the people behind the whole gaming scene as to how it relates to the NES?
I think it was the first two you said. It was more about, obviously it's more based on the collecting and, the enjoyment of, going back in time and what it was like to find your, most favorite titles and stuff. Not so much, of course, about who's really, that's skilled and who's not, I was very honored to be part of the film, and, I knew it wasn't going to be about me. But, yeah, there's some people in the film that are just there to be there, and that's good, It gives it some diversity.